Ayanokoji-kun.
Ayanokoji-kun.
Ayanokoji.
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 Ayanokoji-kun.
Ayanokoji-kun. Ayanokoji.
Ayanokoji.
Ayanokoji-kun.
清高
Ayanokoji先生。
Ayanokoji
Ayanokoji.
Ayanokoji-kun. Ayanokoji-kun.
Kiyotaka Ayanokoji.
If you had Ayanokoji's mind for 30 days, your personality would disappear, your fear would shrink, and your control would terrify people. Here's how his mind actually works. He doesn't look dangerous. He doesn't raise his voice. He doesn't threaten anyone. In fact, at first glance, he looks like the most forgettable person in the room. And that is exactly why he wins. While everyone else is trying to be seen, to be heard, to be feared, he is doing something far more powerful. He is watching. And most people never realize the moment they have already lost control to someone who never announced their power. This is the first illusion you must understand. Real dominance never looks loud. It looks boring. It looks silent, it looks ordinary, and the world is trained to ignore ordinary people. That is the opening that predators of the mind wait for, because when attention drops, defenses fall. And when defenses fall, influence becomes effortless. You have seen it in real life too. The loudest person in the group is rarely the most respected. The one who mocks is rarely the one who leads. The one who shows emotion first is usually the one being played. Yet we grow up believing the opposite, that power must be visible, that confidence must be loud, that control must be announced. But true control prefers to stay hidden. It prefers to let others reveal their weaknesses first. This is why silence makes people uneasy. This is why calm under pressure feels unnatural. This is why someone who never reacts becomes impossible to read. And when you cannot read someone, you cannot predict them. When you cannot predict them, you fear them. Fear is not created by aggression. Fear is created by uncertainty. Most people leak information about themselves constantly. Their face changes when they feel insulted. Their tone shifts when they feel insecure. Their posture collapses when they feel uncertain. Every micro reaction is a signal. Every unnecessary word is a weakness. And the world is full of people who believe they are in control while unknowingly broadcasting their state of mind to anyone who knows how to observe. This is where his power begins, not with strength, not with speed, not with violence, but with invisibility, with restraint, with the ability to remain unchanged while everyone else is emotionally predictable. He does not need to dominate the room. The room reorganizes itself around him. Conversations slow down. Reactions become cautious. Confidence weakens. Because something inside human psychology reacts to what it cannot read. By the end of this video, you will understand exactly why ordinary appearance is the most dangerous disguise of all. You will see how discipline replaces emotion, how silence replaces force, and how manipulation replaces confrontation. This is not a fantasy. This is not anime logic. This is how real psychological control works in boardrooms, in relationships, in negotiations, and in conflict. The fastest way to lose power is to react. The fastest way to reveal yourself is to feel, and the fastest way to be manipulated is to let others control your emotional tempo. This is the truth most people never accept. They think anger is strength. They think excitement is confidence. They think outrage is dominance. In reality, every visible reaction is a leak, a signal to the world that your buttons exist and that they can be pressed. This is where his most misunderstood weapon emerges. Emotional detachment does not mean the absence of feeling. It means the absence of obedience to feeling. He still experiences fear, irritation, pressure, and doubt. But none of these emotions are allowed to decide his behavior. They are observed like data, not followed like commands, and that one distinction separates control from chaos. Most people run on stimulus response. Someone insults them, they respond. Someone challenges them, they flare up. Someone ignores them, they spiral. This creates a predictable loop. Once your pattern is visible, your outcome is programmable. Anyone who understands human behavior can steer you by triggering the right emotion at the right moment. Detachment breaks that loop. When you no longer react on schedule, you interrupt expectation. When expectation collapses, dominance quietly shifts. People feel unsettled around what they cannot move. They grow cautious around what they cannot provoke, and they lose confidence around what they cannot read. This is why silence after provocation is more powerful than retaliation. This is why composure after attack feels unnatural. This is why restraint feels threatening. The poker face is not aesthetic, it is tactical. A relaxed face under pressure signals one message to the subconscious mind of everyone watching. This person is not overwhelmed. This person is not rushed. This person is not losing control. And when you broadcast that signal consistently, people begin to project their own uncertainty onto you. They assume you see something they don't. They assume you know something they can't access. And that assumption alone alters their behavior. Anger makes people sloppy. Excitement makes them careless. Fear makes them slow. Emotional neutrality makes a person accurate. Detachment also protects decision-making. When emotion dominates, the future disappears. Choices become short-term. Relief becomes more important than outcome. This is how people sabotage themselves while believing they are being honest with their feelings. But the mind that delays response regains time, and time is the one advantage that multiplies all others. This is not suppression. Suppression traps emotion until it explodes. Detachment lets emotion pass without interference. The feeling rises, peaks, and dissolves without being acted upon. Over time, the nervous system learns that reaction is optional. And once reaction becomes optional, control becomes permanent. This is why he feels unreadable. This is why his presence reshapes rooms without effort. This is why people speak carefully around him without understanding why. They are not responding to intimidation. They are responding to uncertainty, and uncertainty is the beginning of fear. Most people believe power comes from speaking more, from explaining more, from proving more. They rush to fill every silence because silence makes them uncomfortable. But silence only makes one kind of person uncomfortable, the one who does not control the moment. In reality, the person who speaks the least often decides the most, not through volume, but through pressure created by restraint. Fast talkers leak urgency. Urgency signals need, and need dissolves leverage. When someone speaks too much, they reveal their intentions, their insecurity, their impatience. Every extra word is another opening. Every unnecessary explanation is another weakness. This is why loud confidence collapses so quickly under real pressure. It cannot survive uncertainty. Silence works differently. Silence forces the other mind to move. When words stop, the brain of the listener starts searching. It looks for meaning. It looks for motive. It looks for danger. And in that search, it begins to project. People fill silence with their own assumptions, and assumptions are always easier to steer than facts. This is why slow speech creates gravity. When words arrive slowly, they feel heavier. When pauses exist between sentences, attention intensifies. The listener leans forward without realizing it, not physically, but mentally. They become alert, they become cautious, they become reactive. And the one who controls the pace of reaction controls the emotional temperature of the room. Eye contact adds another layer, not staring, not dominance posturing, but steady, relaxed contact that doesn't demand approval and doesn't seek validation. The nervous system of the observer interprets this as stability, and stability is associated with authority. People trust what feels grounded, even when they don't know why. The most dangerous communicators rarely argue, they rarely explain, they rarely defend. Defense implies vulnerability. Explanation implies doubt. The one who stays minimal suggests certainty without ever proving it, and humans instinctively follow what appears certain. Even body stillness plays a role. Excessive motion leaks tension. Restlessness signals fear. Controlled movement signals mastery. When the body remains calm, the mind of the observer begins to mirror that composure. This is unconscious regulation. The calmer presence sets the tone, and the rest of the room synchronizes downward. This is how dominance becomes invisible. No raised voice, no threats, no displays. Just the quiet authority of someone who doesn't need to push reality to feel in control. People mistake this for confidence, but it is something deeper. It is the removal of internal negotiation. When you no longer rush to be understood, you no longer rush to be accepted. And when acceptance stops being the target, influence appears as a side effect. This is why silence feels uncomfortable to the untrained mind. It removes distraction. It removes noise. And when noise disappears, the truth of one's inner state becomes loud. Those who cannot face that noise rush to fill the void. Those who can command it. And once you command silence, you never need to demand attention again. Manipulation is not force. It is not pressure. It is not shouting, demanding, or dominating openly. True manipulation is quieter than that. It moves without being seen. It guides without appearing to lead. And the most dangerous part is this: when it works perfectly, the other person believes they chose everything on their own. This is not guesswork, it is a system. And that system is built on 7 psychological pillars that turn human behavior into something predictable. The first pillar is observation. Before anyone can be influenced, they must be studied. People reveal more than they realize through posture, pacing, eye movement, breathing, and tone shifts. Confidence and insecurity leave physical signatures. Fear tightens the body. Anticipation speeds it up. Once these signatures become familiar to you, words become less important than signals. The second pillar is framing. Framing means controlling the meaning of a situation before the situation is even discussed. When 2 choices are presented, the human brain naturally looks for the safer option. If you define one choice as risky and the other as reasonable, you no longer need to push. The decision will move itself. The third pillar is mirroring. People trust what feels familiar. Subtle copying of tone, pacing, posture, and language patterns creates unconscious alignment. When someone senses that you move like them, resistance lowers. They feel understood without knowing why. The fourth pillar is information control. Power is not in what you say, it is in what you withhold. When you reveal selectively, you allow others to complete the story in their own mind. And people believe the stories they create more deeply than the stories they are told outright. Gaps generate imagination. Imagination generates attachment. The fifth pillar is anchoring. The human brain links emotions to moments. If you associate comfort, relief, or validation with your presence, even briefly, future requests become easier to accept. The emotional memory does the persuasion for you. The sixth pillar is prediction and calibration. Small actions test large reactions. A comment, a pause, a slight request. Each response teaches you where control exists and where it does not. Influence is not applied blindly. It is adjusted in real time. The seventh and final pillar is cognitive bias. The human mind runs on shortcuts. Reciprocity creates obligation. Scarcity creates urgency. Social proof creates safety. When these shortcuts are activated, logic weakens. People move faster and question slower. None of this requires force. That is the uncomfortable truth. Influence works best when it feels natural, when it feels voluntary, when the person being guided never realizes guidance occurred at all. But here's the part few understand. Manipulation does not begin with controlling others. It begins with controlling yourself. Without emotional restraint, every pillar collapses. Anger ruins framing. Excitement breaks calibration. Neediness exposes information. Fear disrupts observation. This is why power always starts inward. Before you move people, you must silence reaction. Before you shape outcomes, you must remove urgency. And before you influence the world, you must first become unreadable within it. Because the one who cannot be moved becomes the reference point for everyone else. Most people think confidence comes from how loudly they speak or how boldly they act. In reality, confidence is decoded long before the first word is spoken. It is decoded from posture, from pacing, from stillness, and from how much emotional noise a person leaks into the environment. Long before someone decides whether you are powerful, they decide whether you are readable. Readable people broadcast everything. Their nervousness shows in their hands. Their need shows in their tone. Their insecurity shows in their posture. They smile when they are uncomfortable. They laugh when they are uncertain. They fidget when they feel judged. And without realizing it, they hand over leverage in every interaction. Unreadable presence works in reverse. It is not stiff. It is not forced. It is neutral, shoulders relaxed, spine upright, movements intentional but minimal, no rush, no drag, just controlled pacing. When someone walks like this, others subconsciously mirror the rhythm. Faster people slow down, slower people speed up. The center of gravity shifts toward the calmest presence in the room. Eye direction plays a major role. Looking at the floor signals submission. Staring too hard signals aggression. But steady, soft eye contact without emotional strain signals stability. And stability is unconsciously associated with authority. People obey what feels emotionally anchored. Hand movement leaks intent, excessive gestures leak nervous energy. Hands in pockets signal uncertainty. Tight fists signal suppressed tension, but relaxed hands at the side or slow, minimal gestures during speech signal composure. And composure is interpreted as inner control. Walking speed also communicates status. Rushing suggests urgency, dragging suggests hesitation. A controlled, neutral pace suggests that nothing is chasing you and that you are not chasing anything. That single message alone reshapes how you are perceived. Phone behavior is one of the most underrated power leaks in modern social dynamics. When someone checks their phone during conversation, they signal that the person in front of them is not the priority. Doing this regularly, quietly, destroys respect. On the other hand, when the phone stays unseen, attention feels rare, and what feels rare gains value instantly. The most important mistake people make in social environments is noise. Talking too much, laughing too often, reacting too fast. The louder the presence, the less weight it carries. The quieter the presence, the heavier it becomes. Silence pulls attention. Noise dissolves it. Unreadable energy is not about being cold. It is about being regulated. When reactions are slowed, power thickens. When movements are reduced, attention sharpens. When emotions settle inward, authority surfaces outward. This is why the quietest person in the room often becomes the reference point without ever trying, because energy always moves towards stability, and stability always becomes leadership. At some point, every person who begins this path arrives at the same realization. Power does not feel like power in the beginning. It feels like isolation. It feels like restraint. It feels like watching others move emotionally while you remain still. And the mind resists this stillness at first because chaos feels familiar. Silence does not. Most people believe that fear must disappear before confidence can exist. That is backward. Fear never disappears at the higher levels. It becomes quieter. Yes, it becomes slower, but it never fully leaves. And that is not a weakness. That is calibration. Fear tells you that stakes exist. Control tells you how to move anyway. The difference between collapse and dominance is not the absence of fear, it is the refusal to obey it. When your reactions slow, your nervous system begins to shift. The body stops preparing for escape. The mind stops searching for validation. You no longer move to be liked. You move to be precise. And precision creates a new identity, a colder one, a calmer one, a sharper one. This is where most people fail, not because the process is impossible, but because the identity feels lonely. You begin to see emotional behavior clearly. You see how people seek approval. You see how groups chase consensus. You see how insecurity shapes decisions. And once you see it, you cannot unknow it. You cannot unlearn it. You become separate without intending to. This is the price of clarity. Once you become internally unmoved, the world begins to respond differently. People speak softer around you. They explain themselves more. They hesitate before asserting. Not because you intimidate them, but because your stillness disrupts their emotional rhythm. They begin to feel observed even when they are not. This is when control stops being something you chase and becomes something that quietly follows you. But mastery does not arrive in a dramatic moment. There is no cinematic switch. There is only accumulation. Hundreds of restrained reactions, thousands of silent calculations, years of choosing composure over release. Each time you do not react, the identity thickens. Each time you withhold impulse, authority condenses. And one day, you notice something strange. Situations that once triggered panic now feel slow. Words that once cut now feel distant. Chaos that once pulled you in now passes through you without sticking. This is when you realize the truth. Power is not loud. Control is not emotional. Dominance is not aggressive. It is quiet. It is patient. It is unreadable. At that point, you no longer need to manipulate. You no longer need to defend. You no longer need to prove. People adjust automatically. The frame sets itself. The room stabilizes around your presence. And that is when transformation completes. Not into a character, not into a fantasy, but into a person whose center cannot be moved. Not fearless, not emotional, simply controlled.